Which means... That's not what I need right now. There we go. You know what that means, guys. If anyone has been recently on my stream before, you know exactly what this means. It means for some awesome intro music. And with that, I'm going to go play that intro music right now. Spawning out at the bottom right as the red Protoss, be none other than the awesomely famous Chinese Protoss. Will be none other than Jaystar. And his opponent has the yellow Zerg spawning in the top left, in the bottom left on Fighting Spirit. He is the yellow Zerg. He is Fengzi, who is one of my all-time favorite players. Don't get me wrong, Jaystar. I might show some bias in here, but you know, I'm sure you can filter out my comments with ease. Shouldn't be too difficult. And it's Friday night. I've gotten about 5 hours of sleep because of Blitz. And I am in a casting mode right now. And then I'm probably going to go collapse and go into bed. But besides all that, we should be good for this cast. Now, Chinese ZVP, especially Fengzi, this guy loves to delay his hive tech. And I mean really delay his hive tech. I mean, sometimes it will be like a solid 20 minutes in game before he even starts to get his hive tech. That's how crazy he is. That's how crazy he is. He normally opens up with an overpull, which it looks like he's doing again. Fengzi is playing this very, very standard right now. I think generally most Chinese Zergs open against this, and we have a 2-gate coming. I believe that was a 2-gate from Jaystar. So we're going to have some really early pressure going on here. And I'll let you know, this opening isn't that great. I mean... if it doesn't work well, because I mean, if you guys don't know Jumper, and again, if I'm referencing Blitz here, we're talking to Game and Halkabeast. I didn't really know who Jumper was. He's a Samjock Gaming one, and this is the next thing that happened. It was Dyslexic versus Jumper in the YSL, the SRW round of 8 day 1, and Jumper lost that game. And Jumper's like a high B+ player, and Dyslexic's like a C minus. Like, that's how crazy this build order is. And it's crazy. Jaystar is going to be in trouble if it doesn't do any damage. Now, you know, Fengzi has opened up with a pretty safe build, an overpull. It's not the fastest pull. It's not 9 pull with speed. But it gets out Lings faster than, like, some 12 hatch builds. So he's going to have the Lings out to deal with these. And he should be able to hopefully deflect this. As I don't really want to have a quick game. I don't think you guys want to, especially if you are looking forward to this. And he's even going to pull off probes here. So this is definitely a big pressure by Jaystar, to say the least, if not all in, or borderline all in. Hasn't pulled all of his probes for good reason. He still wants to get the Zealots out. Oh, okay, well, this is good. I like this, what Fengzi is doing. He's trying to intercept Zealots, which these guys get exponentially better. It's kind of like mech in the early game, just because... it's so hard to kill these Zealots off with just pure Ling once they start getting up to like the 4 or 5 numbers. Generally speaking, a Zealot will die from 4 Lings if they get a complete surround on that. But that just number goes really high up. It's not like you need 4 times 4 would be 16. I wouldn't say that's the equivalent amount you need to take it out of 4 Zealots. You need a lot more than that. And this hatchery is actually going down, taking a lot of fire from here, and it looks like the hatchery will fall. The drones are going to get pulled off the line. So he's actually losing mine time in a desperation attempt to save the hatchery, but it fails quite miserably. And this is going to get cleaned up. The Zealots the Zealots got a little poor positioning out there once the hatchery fell down. But despite all of that, it's not really that important. At the end of the day, what really matters was that hatchery fell down, that 2-gate has served its purpose, and unless Jaystar wants to go all in with Zealots, you know, we'll have to find out. And also to comment for VOD users, who is this? Atomic Robot said there is no in-game effects. Again, that is purely because the fact is that the Chinese caster comes up and I cannot stand listening to the guy. So You're out of luck. I got the Brood War soundtrack the best of my ability, but just wanted to clear that out for probably every cast I've done it. Now, what Fungus is trying to do here is he's trying to knock down the South Gateway, which will allow for a run by into the main base here, which could end the game outright. Now, Jaystar's playing it a little, he's setting out his zealots in a smart manner, but the gateway does fall down, so these lings are a couple are gonna get in there, and without any kind of cannon up, I mean, it's gonna be difficult. They might even be the equivalent to Zeke lings, considering the fact it's Fungza, and this is just gonna be annoying. Fungza has a couple options here. He could go Mass Ling, which looks like what he's doing. He's building a lot of lings right now. He doesn't even have the second hatch up. He is all in. He's gotten himself all in now, and that hatchery is gonna have to get canceled potentially. I don't think he can actually kill off those 4 zealots right now. With him rallying off the units, like, does he go for this timing where Jaystar is completely vulnerable, or does he push back? And it looks like he's gonna try to push and defend, and not use this timing that is allowed for that Fungza has found himself in against Jaystar. And even despite trying to play defensive, that hatchery is looking like it's gonna fall down. So far, it looks like he's gotten 2 probe kills around that timing. And, alright, so the Zealots, this is very good micro from Fungza for sure. I'm not going to go lie. But, this is getting very tight for that hatchery. That has like 120 HP. And, it's tough. That hatchery, that hatch is done. That is done, but what does Jaystar have? 2 gateways and a forge? I can't really say that's much better than what Fungza has right now. At least Fungza is getting up a 3rd base up at that 10 o'clock. So I can't call who's winning right now. Chat is saying, for VOD users again, is saying that they're calling GGs already, and that is a valid point. Few one that Jaystar does have the double economy, but I just don't like the position of Jaystar at the moment. Because now there's going to be so many lings out, he can't rally units. So, for this time being, Fungza is completely safe. Again, we're just going to have that kind of reverse kind of base trade scenario where Jaystar can push out, potentially kill off that 3rd base, or the natural again. The 3rd base is natural position, it's cross positions at this point, so it's going to be harder to pressure here. But that just gives him more than enough time to get speedlings in there, because he probably already has speed done, and then do a run by again. I don't know what the main base is looking like. I don't know how many cannons there are. There's probably 1, but even still, he might be able to get a couple probes or something like that. Now, it's just throwing down another forge right here, which is interesting. Was that a second forge, or was that a cannon? I think it was a cannon, actually, when I think about it. But there's no way for really other player to do it. Jaystar forfeits his, his natural. Because, all that yellow on the map right now is pure ling. It's not a hatchery, it's pure ling. Though, if that metal ling's getting the main base, literally he could just target fire the Nexus and probably win. So while the chat says GG, I beg to differ. I don't think any player, it's at a stalemate where it's odd right now. But that is completely up for you guys to decide. And this is all just being skeptical at this point. All I can do is speculate at this point. And it's nice control by Fungza, and this guy does have amazing control. But that we do have the sun going. Now things are looking a little bit more stabilized. If you will, looking at it as EVP, think about this being that kind of timing push where you have like 6 or 7 zealots and you're pressuring the natural or the 3rd base depending on the map and spawn locations. It's kind of like that. But this is really, really nice though. Even though Fungza is delaying that just so slightly, he got the sunken up. It's probably going to die, but it buys time for the lings to get us around, do more DPS, and look at that. It looks like Fungza will have enough to clean this up. He has a couple drones pulled off the line, but it looks like the lings around was enough. Drones are going to have, again, pulled off the line here, but should be able to deal with this. Reinforcing lings should be able to clean that up. So, well played by Fungza to deflect this attack. He'll lose mining time on the natural, but it's better than losing. And Hypnotoad is saying in chat, you can't tell me Zerg has this, he's only been pumping Lings, which is true, but what's to say what the tech of Jaystar is? He's just throwing down a Cybercore, so actually, Zerg is actually in the same position as he would be in the standard game at this point. Everything is just heavily delayed in terms of tech, and everything is looking pretty standard. The Spire's coming up pretty quickly, and it was just thrown down. At the same time, the Cybercore is done, so Corsair theoretically will come out right at the time those Mutilates are coming out. That's what I predict. That's what I'm predicting right now. We'll have to see. We'll have to see for sure. Oh, I mean, we could also just see, you know, Spire. We could even see Hydras. I mean, anything is possible at this point. I don't know. Fungza tends to go more Mutaling style, and then gets a couple of Lurkers in there. Never really goes Hydras, I would say. I've only seen him go maybe once or twice against Protoss, but generally speaking, Mutaling is probably his more specifically geared build that I've seen most likely. Recently, though, you know, he's gone more mixing of the Lurkers, but there's $100 on the line here. I don't know if that might be a lot of money in China. I don't know. I don't know what it pretty much it converts out to be about $100-ish. I think it ended up being like 92 with conversion rates and everything, but I don't know if $100 is a lot. All I know is that, you know, there isn't as much money around China per people as there is in the United States. But whatever. Enough of that. I'm just sounding odd right now. Okay, so he's going Goons. Why would you pump Goons? This is the same thing Dyslexic did. And same thing that Jumper did against Dyslexic. And Dyslexic just went mass Hydra. I mean, Lings are the same thing, pretty essentially. I mean, those Goons, at least just to me, aren't really that worthwhile. I see the reasoning, though. The reasoning is so we can bunch. Excuse me. I see the reasoning because Goons are really, really good at killing off Sim Cities that Zerg's put up, especially on Fighting Spirit. That makes it very difficult for Zelt to get in there. Granted, now Fungza's, you know, Sim City, especially on the natural, is lackluster to say. And these Goons, I mean, they could just do their full damage to that. You know, stay in, you know, at the most outskirt range they can. And again, those are the Mutalisks that I talked about beforehand. And we'll see if that Scourge hits. Because if Jaystar loses his Corsair numbers before they hit, you know, around 3, 4, 5-ish, it's going to be very difficult for Jaystar. Just saying in general, once these Mutants come out, it's very difficult for that Protoss to take the third base. Not only that, that third base is actually expanding to Fungza, which is not a base that he wants to take. Especially how aggressive Fungza is. It's kind of crazy. And here comes the harassment again. I mean, the Mutalisks control from Fungza. This is why I love this guy. He never fails to amaze me. Now, again, if the Corsair numbers get up to a high enough level, and Scourge hits aren't a factor, then we can actually see, you know, this build, you know, eventually kind of debunker out for Fungza, and then it's kind of more of like a standard game. Generally speaking, though, this never really leaves Fungza behind, though, even though going this Mutalist transition. He's taking a lot of hits from that Corsair, though, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's going to take a while for them to regen their HP. And someone asked from the chat, I think it's a valid question. He says, I wonder what these blocks of Chinese characters mean. Is it Twitter comments showing? When the live stream is going for China, the chat history of it will actually be, it's somehow synced with the VOD. So those are actually people live chatting, and people can see it. So for example, the 61 people, and probably half of you aren't even have the chat open. That's why I normally read off what's the chat saying. But anyway, the fact is that you can actually see that. But anyway, we have Jaystar pushing in the natural expansion here. There is an Archon. An Archon's... Oh! Did that Archon just fall? Did he target fire that? Did he get a shot off? I'm not sure if he got a shot off on those Mutalisks. And this is what I was saying. If these Mutalisks really... I mean, if he can't deal with this Mutalisk, I think Fungza is going to take this. Now, again, I'm a little biased, but I've seen this happen countless times against Protoss. John Hoon. And transferring probes are just going to get knocked off. This is where Fungza really starts to dominate the game. I'm not going to call it ends game for Jaystar. He's an amazing player. Again, I don't know Jaystar specifically, but he's been known to be one of the best of the Chinese players, if not the best. So let's give him some room to maneuver. Immediately going in here, and this is why ZVP Corsairs are the utmost important, especially against Chinese Zergs. If obviously if you don't cheat, if you cheat, you're probably gonna win. But if you let a Chinese Zerg get Mutalisks when there's no lag, it can make it very difficult for Protoss. This is why. This is very why. If you can keep sustain a 4 or 5 Corsair numbers, then generally speaking, you can deal with these Mutalisks pretty effectively. I mean, they're still gonna do damage, but I say that's your best chance to do that. And also, guys, while I'm talking about this, obviously there's harassment going on, and he's losing a lot of them. And Jaystar is struggling here. It looks like he's planted a third base, though, a third nexus at that 3 o'clock. But if he can sustain that, though, that is important. That is very important. We are running, I think, around the 15-minute mark now. But this is actually a little bit more of an interesting point, because generally speaking, what happens at this point in the game is that Fengzi hasn't done as much econ damage, but as more of a contain off a 2 base, which a lot of Zergs want to do against Protoss. I mean, generally, it's easier once the third base economy kicks in. Protosses can just get a lot of stuff out, very deadly for Zergs that have a very difficult time. So you want to do your best to contain them off a 2 base. When it works, Zergs are generally in a very good shape, and continuing to kill off cannons and probes is always a fun factor. Okay, so he's got to just head on these Corsair. He has +1 on the Grave Worms right there, so he does have +1 attack on that air. And look at this Mutalisk control. I mean, he doesn't care. In between the times that the Corsairs are out of range, he's like, I'm gonna kill some probes. And this is why I like the Chinese scene, but. And it looks like he does have a Queen Sis down. Now, again, I don't know if he's getting Hive Tech, but again, we are fairly late in this game for Hive Tech. And like I said, Mutiling composition. It reminds me of like ZVZ in some way, how Fengzi plays this, because it's so... I mean, Mutalist normally means Scourge as well, but Mutiling Scourge generally is probably how you play it. Now, of course, when, Jaystar gets up enough Archon, it might be very difficult for Fengzi to keep these Mutalisks alive. But this is what I really like about Fengzi's build order. It's not like I'm going to go Mutalisks, just kind of going to go harass them. There's actually a benefit to going them in this matchup. Generally speaking, like, you kind of have to, like, if you want to do High Templar snipes, it's kind of like a mid-late game switch to Mutalisks. But now you already have them out. You already have a really high number of them. You can run in there, kill off 4 or 5 High Templar, run away. You might lose your Mutalisks, but at that same time, you are killing off potential storms that can kill off 9 or anywhere from 0 to 10 Hydralisks, or Lurkers for that matter. So I mean, even that transition alone is really nice. But I also wanted to talk about, and we also have a 4th base established for Fengzi on the top left. A couple things about Fengzi as well. Fengzi, Game said that he's the Turtle Zerg. I don't really know if I agree with that, but that's what LRM Game said on Blitz right here. And here we go again. Fengzi is going to be going in here and trying to clean up the third base. Now, it looks like it might be effective, but if the Corsair come in here, it may, or the Archon for that matter, no hit so far has been pretty good. Oh, an Archon shock does get off right there, and he's going to get out of there. Pretty good control. Only 1 shot off. A shot that you do not want to have, but I don't think anyone could complain about that at all. And also, I think Jaystar's in a somewhat better position is what some other Protosses might be right now. Number 1, he has that third base up. And the second thing is that he's taking so much econ damage, like, he will still have a third base econ for quite some time. So he's been defending off a lower economy than what most Protosses do. And because of that, let's say if Jaystar can get up to that third base economy, get Reavers, Archon, what have you, it could make it difficult for Fengzi. I don't care what Zerg it is. Late game Protoss is very difficult for Zergs to deal with. And this is where the point where sometimes Meatless will die. And again, it's normally... It stalls the mid-game for so long that we normally get really late Hive Tech, but, you know, Fungzo's so far ahead by harassing and all that extra good stuff right there. You know, it's great. Now, we have a 5th base being established for Fungzo. And, you know, with the map control that Fungzo's had, potentially he could have had more bases. But with his micro and everything, I'm not really sure if he could really handle all that. But now it gets to the point where Fungzo has lost general map control. This is where Protoss can really kind of push out. And it looks like they're going to deny this base over here. And not only that, the interesting fact, though, is that Jaystar is looking, I'd say, fine in some regards. Not ideally, but I don't think he's like, you know, critically damaged from that much. I mean, the early game was so bizarre. He's defended off of a lower economy, and it's 108 to 114. So, you know, around this time, I would say Protoss, which should be around 20 supply. You know, again, not optimally where Jaystar wants to be, but he's doing good. He's doing good for himself, and we'll have to see what he comes up with. I mean, this is where the 3-base economy comes in. It looks like the main base is starting to get mined out, but at the same time, though, there is no AA for these Corsair numbers. I mean, what Jaystar found the hard counter to Fungzo. Get a lot of Corsair. You cannot do anything. I mean, this is actually insane. The delicious overlords that he's consuming. Or I always think of it as people implanting blue warts onto them, and so they implant such a big blue wart on their heads or on their holes or whatever that like the big like hump of them are, and they fall and collapse on the ground. Now we have a lurker drop containing slash thing going on there at the 3 o'clock, but that's actually important though. I think that's even more important than the Snatcher being attacked, because if that 3rd base goes down and loses probes, that is 1 base that's left for Jaystar to really mine, and that is gonna be tough. That is a nice storm though. That all those lurkers are generally grouped up. And I mean, he's getting a lot of carnage right there. We have a Guardian transition. Like, it's actually an interesting call why he'd go Guardian. Just maybe he didn't realize that there's gonna be an influx amount of Corsairs roaming the map. But even so, it's an interesting thing nonetheless. You rarely, if ever, see Guardians in CVP. Partially the reason why that just happened, because, well, you die. And also, if you're noticing on screen, for example, you would have seen that the Scourge that were coming in to kill off the Corsair instantly died. Instantly died. That is because the magic number, quote-unquote, for Corsair is about 5. The splash damage is so great that the Scourge just die and melt away. Just for your information. And, this is probably... I would say this is probably my most knowledgeable matchup for China, because it's like the only matchup China does. CVP for like the past like 3 weeks. It's just been, it's literally, I haven't seen a Terran from China that's actually been like, yeah, I haven't seen a Chinese Terran that I've casted at least. And yep, all right. So Lings are out. Or again, well, it's not really that important. I'm kind of, and we have a draw play. It might be Reavers, might be DTs, might be Zealots, might be Goons. DT drop is going to be what it is. Whew. This is going to be tough for Fungza. Oh, the storm. Why are you not paying attention? Oh, no. He did a big Templar drop all over the place. Fungza's going to react. Lings are coming into the main base right now. So his DTs did do a decent amount of damage. But at the same time, though, it did distract long enough for that storm drop to go off. Just saying, I don't know what it is. And you cannot blame me on that, because this is a VOD that I'm recording over. So, yeah, that's not my fault. I don't have to watch the minimap. Well, I should still do, because if the commentator doesn't see anything. But this is why the chat exists. If I see something going on, you guys call it out. And And it looks like a lurker drop at the same time. That's gonna get instant snipe though. I don't think it's gonna work. If you can instant borrow them, maybe. No, it just dies too quickly. And now we get in this kind of like weird late game situation where Fungzo's like, okay, what kind of tech do I go? He could go Ultras. He could try to go Mutalisks again. I don't recommend it, but it's an option. He does have Greater Spire tech available. He could go Devour, which is kind of more of like a troll thing that I'm saying right now, but I've never seen it. But, I mean, they do the acid sports to Corsair, so it could allow for mass air. But with the addition of the amount of High Templar, I think Archon is probably going to... I mean, Ultralisks are probably the best option. But this is why I'm a little worried for Fungzo at this point, because what can he do to stop this 4-base Protoss right now? He can't. He cannot do anything against this Protoss right now. Jaystar is on top of his drops. Jaystar is, defended his big game pressure where Fungzo pretty much dominated the game. This is Jaystar's turf now. Jaystar has control. Jaystar can do whatever the hell he wants. And I'll talk about this in a second, but we have an engagement going on, guys. And, I mean, like... Fungzo is not really... That is so many lurkers. That is the swarm, people, ladies and gentlemen. And... Wow. That... Whoa. Well, never mind. Completely disregard what I was going to talk about. Because I would have been completely wrong. Where did Fungzo get all that army? Where on earth did he get that? But anyway, that concludes game number 1, guys. So I'm going to give the game number 1 to Fungzo. And because of that, we are going to go end this VOD here for VOD users. That is